What do you sort of expect? Is it like 50 people, 3,000 people? What is it?
Yeah, I think this year we're looking at about 400, and last year was perhaps about 300. And we actually noticed today that there's 150 people alone camping, which is probably double what was last year. So that's going to bring pretty cool feeling about it.
You guys are effectively, the dogs in the piece, right? And it follows their sort of from their point of view, yeah?
Exactly. We, if anyone's ever seen any of our stuff, we basically take on different dog characters and anthropomorphize them. So, but all this time we have gone to sheep, so that's been fun.
Hey everyone, welcome into the Rex Daily Podcast on YouTube. Now coming up for you today, Chanelle O'Sullivan's going to join us in just a moment. She's one of the organisers of the Underground Festival for 2026. They had a really good showing last year for the inaugural event, so they've come back bigger and better this year. We're going to find out exactly what the Underground Festival is. We're also going to be talking with Amelia Guild as well, actor and artist. Part of the Bitches Box with Emma Newborn, and they've got a feature film that is hopefully coming out later on this year. They're just putting the finishing touches on it at the moment, so we're going to find all about that as well here on the Rex Daily Podcast. And don't forget, of course, to like, comment and subscribe. All right, for the second year now, we've got the Underground Festival coming up, part farming conference, part food celebration. It's set among the organic regenerative vineyards of Greystone in Waipiro Valley in North Canterbury. To talk about this with us, we've got Chanelle O'Sullivan from the Underground Festival 2026 with us now. Good to have you on. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. I am good. I am very happy about the sun streaming in the house right now.
Yeah, sunshine finally around these parts. Yeah, where are you based exactly?
I am near St. Bethans, so up just below the kind of Cambrian hills and the mountains, at relatively high altitude on the other side of the Lindis Pass. Beautiful!
What a spot! Amazing.
It's a good one.
Yeah, I reckon. What's your role with the Underground Festival?
So when it was founded, so I'm kind of like co-pilot of this with Fran Bailey. When she moved back to New Zealand, she's a Kiwi, but she spent some time over in the UK and working on the Groundswell Festival. And I said to her when she came back, if you want to do something like this here, let me know because I will help you. I don't want to run it, but I will help you. I think it took about 6 or 9 months of back and forth and convincing, and she finally said yes. And yeah, we dived into it. So I kind of do a lot of like the marketing and the design, and we go back and forth across a lot of different things. But we work together for about 6 months a year, which is great.
That's awesome. So tell me, what do you do? Like, where did your interest in this sort of thing come from?
I've been in the agriculture space since I left high school, in various roles. From studying agriculture through to starting a Facebook group called Farming Mums NZ, which has about 20,000 members now, which is still going. So that kind of hooked me into both sort of marketing and online and community, but also hands-on farming, sheep, beef, deer, and dairy. And my husband's been a farmer since the moment I met him, right up to general management. And we spent, up until about 3 years ago, we spent the prior 6 years converting more traditional high country stations into regenerative stations. So doing that kind of forced us to think outside the box a bit. And we were both brought up in town, not with any rules of how farming should be or how it should go, which I think made us quite unique in how we were willing to look at things differently. So yeah, they're getting into that more regenerative style of farming, and looking how we can work with nature and use closed loop systems to be able to, kind of do things a bit differently without the high inputs. This is where interest came from for me. And that's kind of led to Underground, which people are, it's growing every year, the kind of way of thinking.
Yeah, it really is. I think that's a good point. So, back when you started, doing that work with looking at, like, as you said, the high country and looking at regenerative stuff, that very outlier kind of environment to be operating in, right? Not as much now, though. That's changed. And I would say, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I reckon in the last couple of years, so I remember a few years ago, people were like, "Oh, but what's the definition of regenerative?" Like that was like the the keystone like that you needed if you were to just look at things like less inputs and stuff like that. But I feel like it's the last couple of years that the worm has slowly turned on that. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think that humans are so rigid in how they want to think and act and behave and how they identify themselves. And I think that's, from how we're brought up at school. What do you want to be when you're older? I identify as a farmer. Like, who am I? It became a big question. And when that regenerative word came in, it was almost a bit insulting or patronizing to existing farmers, because if I'm not regenerative, are you saying I'm degenerating? Am I degenerative? Am I harming the soil? And I think the way that it was introduced in New Zealand and the way it was taken and fought back on was pretty, it was introduced in a patronizing way and it wasn't taken well. So I can understand. I remember when there was some stuff going on at Lincoln, and it's like, well, these people are unhappy with how it's being portrayed because they've spent their entire lives and careers teaching and doing things one way, to be told everything you've taught is wrong. So you can kind of see why everyone got the hackles up. I really understood that. But I think, things are changing because it's not as crazy as you think. I remember when I first looked into it and talked about it, it's almost like you're talking about witchcraft, the way that people kind of looked at you. And now it's still kind of a bit of side eye sometimes, but it's not to the extent that it was when people start to understand that. It's just, how do we look at using lower inputs? How do we kind of look at nature for inspiration as to how to work alongside it instead of constantly working against it? Like, if we're going to plant monocrops, we're going to get pests that love those crops and they're going to destroy it, which means we need pesticide. But if we're not doing monocultures, then what does that look like for the rest of the system? Nature doesn't exist in straight lines and monocultures, yet we're trying to force it into that. Kind of the long way around is, yes, I do think things are changing. I think globally it's becoming a lot more accepted and taken on. And it's also coming down to our export markets and our trade. They're demanding a higher level of transparency and traceability. They're wanting to be able to keep their scope 3 levels down in terms of carbon. And if we're bringing in fertilizer from across the world on ships emitting carbon, we're using diesel and trucks to put it on, we're getting high impact results, but we're depleting the soil in the long term. How are our export markets and our buyers going to be receiving that? So, it kind of comes down to an individual's principles and way of looking at the world, but also we're coming to a place where, like New Zealand Merino with ZQRX, there's demand for those products, and New Zealand is so close to already being at that space that we have the ultimate ability to be able to capitalize on what regenerative means, or low input, or eco agriculture, or nature-led, whatever words you want to use. I think we're the best spot in the world to be able to really lead that conversation and own it.
It's a really good perspective, actually, and I think you're right about how it was kind of, shoved down people's throats initially as well, the idea of regenerative and associated ideas. You touched on something there as well, which is interesting, language. There's certain words like sustainability that have become kind of so captured now that basically people kind of do the roll the eyes thing with certain words as well, which again isn't helpful. So I guess this is what something like Underground is like, showing, okay, here's examples. You can call it whatever you want, as you kind of just said. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of what you do, not what you label it as, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing that we all have in common is the need for our soil to be healthy. If we don't have healthy soil, we don't have grass. And I think for a long time, I remember hearing, we're not farming animals, we're farming grass. And actually, we're not farming grass, we're farming soil and the microbes in the soil that are healthy, that allow us to grow grass and pasture and crops, which can then grow animals. So in the end, it's a soil conversation, and that's what connects us all, no matter where you sit on the organic to regenerative to a more conventional way of looking at things. If we have shitty soil and it's flowing out of our rivers, we don't have anything. So being a festival of soil, I think, is more, that area that we're looking at and trying to capture the imagination of people, because healthy soil equals healthy animals, which equal healthy humans, which hopefully improves the mental health and physical well-being of the entire world. If it all works like that, then we're onto something.
Yeah, what do we got to worry about if it all goes like that? Absolutely. Festival of Soil is a good way to put it. I note that there's a guy called John Chester who's a headline speaker at this event, and he was behind this Academy Award nominated film called The Biggest Little Film. I don't really know much about it. Who is he? What has he done?
Yeah, so The Biggest Little Farm is set at Apricot Lane Farms in California in the US. And they're a couple that they were living in an apartment in town trying to grow their own food. Molly is big on food and health, and John is a documentary filmmaker. So the two of them, they were trying to work out how they could move to the country and buy a farm. And they got in touch with some investors and shared them their story. And they went and took on this hugely degraded farm. There was no water cycle. There was no life. Like, the ground was just so dead. So were the plants. There was no biodiversity. And they've spent years now turning that back around, and they've documented every single part of it from day one. And I think that this guest is kind of a my fault type thing, because I've watched the film probably 3 or 4 times. And if you know me, I don't watch movies, and I never watch a movie twice. So that is saying something. It's a really, really, really great movie, showing that, they got hit with so many disasters. They had near fires. They didn't have water. They had nothing. They had pests taking over. They had snails destroying the orchards. So they started looking at how they could use nature to combat these types of pests that they were finding. So when they had snails taking over the orchard, they brought in ducks, and the ducks ate the snails. And they had gophers destroying all the root systems under the orchard. So they put in owl nesting boxes, and then the owls would eat the gophers. And then there was snakes that were eating the gophers because they had a safe environment for that. So it was really interesting to see how, commonly we go, here's a pest and here's a chemical answer. But what if we looked at a biological answer first for a pest, and what does that look like based on what's already in the environment? So the way that they've told the story is beautiful. They're big on biodiversity. They have an interest in biodynamics as well, which is something that we haven't really touched on too much at Underground yet, but it's an interesting thing to look at. I think they're going to be really fantastic guests and speakers. And we're also doing a panel, him, myself, and Alex Morrissey from Little Farms, around how we can be using our own stories to be able to connect with our consumer. What does it look like for a farm to be able to tell its own story, its farm story, and start coming with the eaters that are buying their food to create that connection. So I think that will be a really cool way of looking at things as well, because we all have our own unique story to tell and a way to connect. However, a lot of that time, we don't think our story is interesting enough to tell. We don't have time to do it. But I think in the future, it's going to be more and more important, is if we're going to look at what direct-to-consumer offerings look like a little bit more, we need to be able to tell our story really strongly and be able to stand behind what we're doing and what we're saying. That's a couple of things he'll be involved with.
That's cool. I'm interested in this film now. Is it on YouTube or something? How can I watch it?
I think, yes, it's on YouTube. I think it might be on Amazon Prime as well.
Oh, cool.
It came and went on Netflix over the years. So yeah, definitely look it up. It's just done so beautifully. I think it's really, really clever. I definitely think there's an option for a New Zealand story to be told in a similar way, I think.
So you've got, obviously, he's going to be giving a talk, and you've got the panel that you discussed as well. I imagine there's a whole heap of other workshops and bits and pieces like that, so people can kind of pick and choose what they want to see and hear and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's 2 full days, and all through the day there are 3 sessions running at the same time. So we've got over 40 speakers, I believe. So it's a massive program. We've got everything. We've got talking about agroforestry and how that works in terms of ecosystem payments, but also in terms of animal welfare and soil health. So that's quite an interesting one. We've got a big focus on biodiversity this year. So what does it look like to create healthy habitats for moths and butterflies and pollinators? Because that is something that farming systems require, regardless of what you're growing. We're also doing foliar fertilizers and how to make them yourself. We're talking about biochar, because biochar is a fantastic resource and one that lasts so long in the soil. We're also looking at like local foodscapes, like what is actually edible in our environment, which is quite cool, a different way of looking at things. And we've also got a few politicians coming to talk around, it's called Vote for Kai, and it's going, there's an upcoming election. Where does your party stand on policies around food and farming? So that one should be pretty interesting, I imagine.
Yeah, I was going to say election year, they'll all be coming out of the woodwork.
It's about time. I have no idea what any of them stand for at this point. So I think it's going to be a good discussion.
I don't even know if they know what they stand for at this point. But yeah, that will be interesting, actually. That will be fascinating. Cool. I like that. And so obviously something like this as well, food. We're talking about it a lot. I imagine there's some pretty impressive stuff that will be available for people.
Yes. So I think with any good farmer, you've got to be a good foodie as well. And we are definitely suckers for that. And what we've done is we've been really careful to make sure that we're sourcing food from the local landscape and local farms. So we're working with farmers to get beef and produce and veg all from the North Canterbury and Canterbury region this year while we're situated there. So, yeah, it's going to be great. We've got Food by Fire coming with their big food truck, and they've got a pizza truck attached to it and a big teepee, and it's going to be all incredible food and pizzas, all made with local regenerative and organic flour, which is going to be really cool. And we have market stalls this year as well. So there's a whole lot of local producers, everything from people doing sunflower seeds and sunflower oil through to olive oils and delicious baking with local products as well. So yeah, we've got a huge amount of incredible foodies there.
So there's a whole lot of stuff there. That's great. Wine and all sorts of things from what I'm sort of looking through at the moment, which is cool.
We've also got Brew Moon beer. They brew locally in Amberley. Last year, they took some regenerative barley from one of our local farms and made our own custom brew with it. And yeah, Greystone Wines, of course, are going to be there with their beautiful wines, organic wines, and canapés and things. So it's not like a hot dog and fries type event. There's a kind of like an edge of bouginess to it, which is I don't know, that I like that.
Yeah. I think, lots of people like that. So the thing is, obviously, last year, which was the first one, went well enough to do it all over again.
The last year was amazing. It actually got to the end of it, and everything had gone so perfectly that you almost are waiting for something to go wrong. But the weather was perfect, the temperature was perfect, every speaker was wonderful, the guests were amazing. We actually could not fault it. We had someone say that if you aren't going to do it a second year, we're going to protest. That type of thing. Like it was more than we could have imagined. And this year, ticket sales are even further ahead than they were last year. We've got people interested, people coming back, which is always a good sign. A lot of repeat guests and ones who spoke last year now coming back to attend. So yeah, it went really, really, really well. Which makes me very excited. I don't know about you, but looking at the chaos in the world, all I want to do is like go to this event, hang out with my people, listen to music, eat good food, and kind of forget about it all for a few days.
You know what? That's actually not a stupid thought, really. Not to suggest it was in the first place, but the thing about that is, I think you're right. People are actually looking for those things now because, as you quite correctly outlined, wherever you look, there's just chaos everywhere. You need some calm.
Yeah. And I think I always describe them this way, and I don't know if it's the right thing or wrong thing, but I always feel like there's types of farmers that have been pioneers in this space in New Zealand are really like soft humans. They're just, and I mean that in a way that they're just so lovely. They're just the nicest people in the world. They're so welcoming. They want to share everything. They'll tell you every financial. They'll open up their books. They'll give you everything you need to succeed. And they're just the nicest people to be around. And taking my husband last year, who's kind of, he's a true blue farmer, but into the space as well, he was just like, the people are what makes it. And it is really interesting, having worked across the agricultural industry in so many different spaces, to get to this point and seeing all these farmers come out of the woodwork that are just like in it for such good reasons and do such good work. It's a really, really special group of people.
Love that. So the tickets then, I think ranging from 175 to 350, but there's options as well for camping, even glamping as well, things like that. So there's a whole range. Yeah.
Yeah, there is. And we've also just, as of last week, opened up 30% off for students as well, because we've had a number of students from Lincoln and different universities really wanting to come. So yeah, do get in touch if you want to talk about, accessibility options. We have a good range of about 20 volunteers that have come from all over New Zealand to help us out on the day as well, who are incredible people in their own rights, career-wise in this space. So yeah, it's going to be a really good event, and I think pretty good value.
So the other thing about it was, I don't know, like numbers-wise, is there a cap? I suppose there has to be for these sorts of things. Like what do you sort of expect? Is it like 50 people, 3,000 people? What is it?
Yeah, I think this year we're looking at about 400, and last year was perhaps about 300. And we actually noticed today that there's 150 people alone camping, which is probably double what was last year. So that's going to bring pretty cool feeling about it. We're screening the movie Biggest Little Farm on Tuesday night, the evening before. So people come and camp the evening before, the evening in between, and then they can leave as late as Friday, about 11 a.m. or something like that. So yeah, it's going to have quite a cool community vibe. We've got showers and toilets and glamping tents and all the lovely things you need. And yeah, coffee truck opens nice and early.
Perfect. Love it. Now you live kind of off grid, don't you? In the place that you described to us at the beginning of this chat.
Yeah, we do. We've worked for very, very wealthy global farm station owners over the past 18 years or so. And we kind of got to the point where we could understand that we were constantly building other people's assets. And that led us to buying our own little mini farm. We've got 30 acres in the Back and Beyond. And we built our own little house and plonked it up here. So yeah, a family of 4. We live in 28 square meters at the moment. But I do have a 50 square meter greenhouse, which is bigger than the house. So, my priorities are straight. And we're actually expanding from 28 square meters to 104 this year. So, coming from 300 square meter brand new homes into 28 square meters, which was the size of the dining room of the last house, was pretty interesting. But it's also been really cool as a family. And it has shown how little you actually need and how much time you waste cleaning a big house. So yeah, I definitely rate it.
Interesting perspective, actually. Yeah. I think more people are kind of looking at that as well, because I know people that have sunk lots of money into very big, flash, expensive houses, and then after a while they go, it's kind of just a place, yeah. And it's like you can really go down a bloody rabbit hole with things like that. So to pare it back is an interesting exercise.
Yeah, you can. And I think like the bank offered us so many hundreds of thousands of dollars. They were like, have this. And we thought, actually, if we were to do that and have that size mortgage, we're going to be working our asses off many, many, many hours a week for the next 30 years. And that's not where we want to be. We want to be able to develop this property. When we moved here, it was nothing but a boundary fence. And in the past 2.5 years, we've put up kilometers of fencing, over 500 natives, a shed, a cabin, a hut, like everything has been turned around. And we still, because we're living simply, we still don't have a large mortgage. So, and we don't have to work to the extent where we don't have a life. So we're kind of trying to build our lives around work, not work around our lives, or whichever way that works.
Yeah, whichever way that one goes. Yeah, I know exactly. I get the sentiment. Absolutely. I love it too. I think it's fantastic. So good on you. All the best with it. We'll talk again at some stage. You're interesting guest. So thank you, Chanelle, for being on the program. 18th and 19th of February is the Underground Festival, edition 2. Cool to talk with you. Thank you.
Yeah, great to chat. Thanks for that.
Right, I'm looking forward to this one. Our next guest on the program, Amelia Guild, who is recovering after the World Buskers Festival, where Amelia and her partner in crime, you might say, Emma Newborn, they were performing, I think, 3 big shows. And this is, of course, and Amelia, lovely to have you on. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Yeah, so 3 shows, yeah?
3 shows, 3 ticketed shows, which was quite nice, I have to say, because the idea of busking, holding the hat out is something probably not a natural place for most Kiwis to be, but it was nice. We were in a new theatre, new space for us called Papaho, which is sort of near the Arts Centre, but a 240-seat venue, and it was fantastic. We had a great time there.
That's awesome, yeah. Do you always do the Buskers Festival? Was that sort of a thing?
No, first time for us. Certainly something I've been aware of having. I think it was the 33rd year this year, which is pretty amazing. But, being a Cantabrian, it's something I've frequented as a punter for years. But we were approached, I think it was last year, and we weren't able to. So thought, yes, we'll give it a go this year. And it was amazing. It was a really neat festival to be part of, actually.
So was this episode 4 of the Bitches Box?
Yes, it was. Yeah, this is actually the show. We haven't done it much in Canterbury or the South Island for that matter, but we did do a significant tour in the cyclone-affected regions in 2024 with Farm Strong and Rural Support Trust. So the North Islanders have seen this one, but not so much the South.
Yeah, I think I must have spoken to you last around about that time when you were either getting ready to do it or maybe had just done it or something like that. So that obviously went well, that you've sort of thought, well, other people need to see it as well.
Yeah, well, traditionally when we've done a new show, I mean, you've really got to milk these things, make sure that if you've invested all that time to create a new piece, and then, you may as well get it out there to as many corners. But we would always do a woolshed, when we did our woolshed tours, we'd do a South Island sort of 20-ish date and then a North Island 20 date. But we haven't really been able to resurrect the woolshed tours since COVID in quite the same way. So, it's great to be able to get it up. Even in urban environments, it's always an interesting test to see if the content translates outside of the rural communities. But, it was great. I'm not entirely sure what our audience was made up of. Certainly you could hear farmers, because there's a few jokes that, that are definitely extras for experts. And you think, oh, no, not so many farmers in tonight. But, there were a few that we could hear.
That's awesome. So for those who don't know, this is set on a typical mustering day, right, in North Canterbury, kind of. And it basically follows you guys are effectively, the dogs in the piece, right? And it follows their sort of from their point of view, yeah?
Exactly. We, if anyone's ever seen any of our stuff, we basically take on different dog characters and anthropomorphize them. So, but all this time we have gone to sheep. So that's been a fun exploration. But we've kind of focused this time on the second tier working dogs. So your number ones, the 2 bitches, they're actually locked in the bitch box because they're sorry, balloons just popped up. They're on heat. So we've got the Wayne and Dick, who are the other 2 who are not quite as good, but they think this might be their day to have a run. But we also visit a whole lot of the other farm dogs as well. We've got the duck dog, we've got the pig dog, and of course the sheep. So it's very silly, lots of fun, and I think people can certainly see their dogs in it, but they can probably see themselves in it as well.
Yeah, probably. You're exactly right. So did you confine yourself to just the stage, as it were? Just any kind of street corner sort of appearances or something like that?
Yeah, we did do what they call the Buskers Jam. So they kind of do it's like a sample box, I suppose, every few nights of the different acts that were happening at the time. And so we did do a 10-minute piece amongst a whole lot of amazing international buskers. And it was quite interesting to take 10 minutes out of our show. It's not something we've done before. We're normally quite reluctant to do it because out of context it can be a bit random. But it was a good test. I think we can improve for next time. But it was great to do, and just to get to see the other performers in that capacity. They're really there's some brilliantly professional, honed acts out there. They've travelled the world doing what they're doing, and they're very, very good at it.
Yeah, I was going to say it would attract people from far and wide.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one. It really is the one on the global map for a lot of these street artists. It's got a fantastic reputation. Christchurch is amazing at coming out and supporting it, and they'll do a full week of it, so at least 2 to 3 shows a day. In the hot sun, which we eventually got, which was fantastic, and it's a great stop on the calendar for them.
So in terms of rural themed acts out there, there's probably not that many. You guys are carved out quite the niche, I imagine.
Yeah, I think you just stick to what you know, right? I'm not entirely sure. It's we've always it's worked for us, and we're lucky. We're probably 13 years in now, Emma and I, with doing these shows, which was certainly we didn't anticipate when we started out, but it's been an amazing community to sort of serve, but also it's the content that I know personally, and that Emma has grown to completely immerse herself in. And now with the film, it's pretty exciting that it's kind of grown to what it has grown to.
Yeah, that was you've preempted me. I was going to ask you exactly about the film. Yeah, so the last time we spoke, it was progressing nicely, but I think there was a roadblock or two. You can refresh my memory on all of this stuff, but where's it at now?
Well, we can say, yay, we have finished principal photography. So we're actually about to start the edit, which is terrifying. We'll have to sit and look at ourselves for weeks on end, but it was right up until Christmas we were actually working on it. We had just over 2 weeks of filming, and it was a real push to the end. We just got over the line with the finances. That's probably been the hardest thing. It's probably been 4 years, I think, that we've been working on this and trying to raise the funds. But with the help of some fantastic rural companies, private investors, and our amazing audience, we've actually managed to fund this feature film. We probably could do a little bit more, so we might have to do another little push just to get the post-production completed. But the plan is that sometime later this year we will have a feature film out in the world.
Wonderful. Oh, that's so cool. It's good to hear, actually, because, you put a lot of effort into these sorts of things, and to, just be a little sort of, a few thousand here or there or whatever it might be from being able to complete it, that would be frustrating. So I'm glad you've been able to hopefully very soon see it through to its realization. Tell me, when you guys are acting in this thing, is it like, I don't know, what sort of special effects? Or you just put the costumes on, or how does that kind of work?
I know that's been the question for many people. How do we know you're actually dogs? I think in much the same way the live shows do it. We never don ears or tails or anything like that. It's more in what we're doing, the way we're behaving and what we're talking about. I think it's pretty clear early on. We establish it very clearly in those opening scenes. In fact, the very opening scene is a beautiful mob of sheep played by people.
Okay.
So it'll present as this stunning rural landscape, very, country calendar, come Lord of the Ringsy vibes. It's going to look epic and beautiful, and then we'll see sheep in the distance, and as we get closer, it's humans, and you think, okay, right. And then we have chickens who are humans. And then we have, of course, the Jack Russells, who are our protagonists, having their morning zoomies. So I think it'll be clear from that point that you're watching something a little offbeat, but all the animals are played by people.
That's awesome. And when people embark on these things, anyone who's made a movie will tell you it's about 1,000 times harder than what they envisaged in the first place, right? And I'm sure you're no different in your experience.
Oh, it's been a massive learning curve. We've been very, very lucky that we've been able to work with such patient and consummate professionals, at every turn. So we've got a great team behind us. It has been a graft, but I think, we're pretty proud of where we've got to with the support of our wonderful community, really.
So, in terms of what you need now to be able to find it, fully see it through, are you still looking for people to jump on board?
Yeah. Yes. In short. We've got some fantastic corporate sponsors. So our intention is to tour the film in much the way we have toured our live shows, so that we can really take it back to these rural communities rather than them having to travel to the cities. Of course, it will be in the main urban centres, and we really do want to, launch it in the same way you would any film. But I think, we would really love support for those rural tours potentially. If we could get some companies or different groups on board to help us get it out to those places, because it's just logistics and hardware and that sort of stuff that becomes pretty prohibitive. So that would be our goal.
Could be good export for New Zealand too. You could hit the sort of the film festival circuit, try get it into a few, right? That'd be quite cool. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're aiming for the stars. Don't you worry.
Yeah, good on you. That's great. So when's the next tour actually starting then? Is it later in the year pretty much, is it? Or?
The film, you mean?
Yeah, well, the film and the tour, you're going to do a bit more touring with it. When's that sort of slated for at this stage?
Well, it all comes down to when the film is finished. But the plan would be, I'd say probably spring, summer next year would be the ideal. But again, it comes down to whether or not we can get into these international festivals. There's a whole lot of funny stuff around, where you premiere and where you've been seen prior, and so we'll do that little dance. But in the first and foremost, let's finish it, and then we'll certainly be shouting from the rooftops when we're touring it.
Bloody oath. So you should too. So just set the scene for people where you are based, and because I know that you're living the farming life pretty much, aren't you? So tell people where you are and how's it been? How are conditions around the place?
Yeah. Well, I'm in Windwhistle, Rakaya Gorge, on the family farm where we've got a farming operation, tourism, and an apiary. I'm the beekeeper's wife in that capacity. But in terms of the honey season, it's been it'll be it always the proof is in the actual extraction and seeing whether or not we've actually managed to get enough honey in. But it's been cold and wet. But there's a lot of grass around, which is fantastic for the farming. We've just had our on-farm lamb sale and had a great time there. But so it's a mixed bag. Someone's always unhappy, aren't they, in the rural? If there's sunshine, it's great for the beekeepers. If there's too much sunshine, it's not great for the farmers. So look, at the moment we've got ourselves nicely spread so that at least someone's happy in the family.
Tell you what we noticed this year was less bees, because there was a massive proliferation of wasps around where we are in central Otago. And
really?
I just noticed that the bee population was well down for a time. I went around and destroyed as many of the bloody wasps' nests that I could, and the bees seemed to be coming back. But man, it kept them down though. It was crazy. No,
it's an ongoing thing. The wasp eradication, we always have to do a pretty intensive burst, especially around any beech forest, that sort of thing. It's they're brutal, and I'm terrified about the potential of this hornet, but let's hope they've got that under control. Yeah,
nasty buggers, those things, aren't they? Really. So tell me, have you got any new dogs in your life? Because I imagine that your characters are based on, well, to a degree anyway, on dogs that you've known or owned over the
Absolutely. Years. Yeah, they definitely are. My brother's pack of dogs has always been a good source of inspiration. I've got a what is he? He's a beardy cross golden retriever, and I'm his emotional support person. He is such an emotional dog. He's ridiculous, but he's beautiful. He's what I need. He's a great companion. But
Brilliant.
Yeah,
I love that. That's great. Okay, and so what else are you working on? I mean, I guess this film thing's all encompassing, right?
The film's pretty all encompassing. I'll continue my painting on the side. That's what I'm doing, and then obviously helping Tom, my husband, with the honey business. We've got our own domestic brand that we're pushing as well. So yeah, it's a good spread, and then of course just a bit of parenting as well.
Just throw that in there for good measure. Yeah.
Mumming. So I mean, in terms of the film, the performance stuff, it's certainly the focus is on the film at the moment, and then we'll see what comes after that.
Are your paintings available?
Yes, absolutely. I don't have a lot in the studio at the moment, but I do some limited edition prints. Definitely all rural influence, but Amelia Guild is my website. You can see it all there.
Wonderful. Good luck with everything. Good to catch up with you again. I'm glad to hear that the film is, almost 100% done. Well, at least the filming part of it anyway. So,
well, it's going to be an interesting year, I think, when it comes out in terms of rural films, or sort of sheep or dog inspired films, I'd say. There's the Dog Story, which you possibly... I think that's the one based on a dog trialing one. And then there's Black Sheep 2. I think that one's coming out. Our one. And then there's a sharing film, a sharing comedy. So I'd say rural New Zealand's going to be spoilt for choice.
I reckon. It's so New Zealand. That's brilliant. Love it. Hilarious. We've got 4 farming films coming out this year. That's brilliant. Good stuff. Amelia, cool to catch up with you again. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Tom.
That's us for today. Thanks for watching, and don't forget we've got new episodes coming out later on this week, and don't forget also to like, comment and subscribe.